I used to go skiing with my family every year. Those were some of my favorite memories. I told myself that when I became an adult, I would get my own skis and gear, then go on a trip with my friends. By the time I was finally able to fulfill that dream, I was no longer close with my old circle of friends, but I was engaged to my fiancée. To protect her privacy, I'll refer to her simply as Jane, though I assure you there is nothing plain about her. This trip was our secret pre-wedding honeymoon. We both bought brand new skis for it. This time we were old enough to drink, so we had a few before going up the mountain and snuck some shooters in our pockets for when we were on the slopes. It was a wonderful time together, all that we were hoping for and more. After several hours, we decided to take a break at the base of the mountain. As we recuperated, we were approached by another couple. It was very casual at first, just some compliments on our skis, but it turned into small talk, then full-on conversation. They said their names were Adam and Eve, which I pegged as fake names immediately, but the more they talked, the more I understood why they called themselves that. Apparently, they were van lifers, people who live and travel in their van full-time. They seemed like nice people, but they were a bit weird. I'm hesitant to call them hippies, but they did talk about a bunch of spiritual mumbo-jumbo and all the weird things they had done during their travels. Of course, I didn't want to be judgmental, especially when the man, Adam, pulled out a flask and offered us some. I jokingly asked if there was any LSD in it, but he laughed and said it was just vodka. All four of us took a good swig or two, and I could tell by how it was getting lighter that our new friends were indeed drinking it with us. Oh, and it was vodka, that's for sure. Shit tasted like a doctor's appointment. Anyway, we decided to stick together for the rest of the afternoon. Over the course of a few trips up and down the mountain, we tested each other's ability by taking more challenging paths each time. We shared our own drinks and had more of Adam's flask here and there until I was sure the liquor was all out. Then, about an hour before the slopes closed, the woman Eve, as she called herself, revealed an entirely new full flask of her own. By then, we were all tipsy and eager to keep the buzz going. I didn't hesitate to drink it this time, and neither did Jane. However, even through my inebriation, there was a nagging sensation in my hand. The flask really didn't feel like they were drinking out of it, not like the first one, but they had been so nice that I figured they must be strictly pacing themselves. As usual, we tried to get one last trip before we had to leave, still drinking as we rode up the lift a final time. This is about when Adam and Eve invited us to hang out afterwards, in their van, in the parking lot. But Jane and I were clear that we just wanted to get on the road so we could get home before it was too late. I could tell they didn't really appreciate our decision, but at first they didn't push it. Not until we reached the bottom, anyway. Suddenly, I felt 10 times drunker than I should have, and Jane was even worse off. Adam said something about how we must have overestimated the amount we were drinking, but I was sure we were going at a reasonable pace. They told us we were clearly too drunk to drive, so we should hang out with them for a while. I told them straight up, no way. Then I clipped off my skis, as well as Jane's, then carried all four as we started stumbling back to the parking lot. Something about those two was rapidly alarming me, but with each second, my ability to stand my ground against them was draining out of my body. It's hard to explain, but I didn't even feel drunk anymore. My mind was sober, but somehow tiny and unable to pilot my body, which now felt like a giant sack of dead weight. I remember thinking we just have to get to the car, but then I realized we were walking right past it. I tried reaching for it, only to see that I had dropped all our skis and Eve was now carrying them. At this point, my memory is like a slideshow. The next thing I saw was a large van, presumably their van. Then, Jane collapsed on the ground. Seconds later, Adam carrying her toward the van. The last image filled whatever was left of my mind with uncontainable rage. The only parts of me I was aware of were screaming, don't let them take Jane. If they take her, I might as well die. Then, that was it. Next thing I knew, I was waking up on the same patch of asphalt, freezing my ass off with a pounding pain in my head. I thought I was dead. I thought I'd failed to save Jane, so I kinda wished that was the truth. However, reality was far more bittersweet. When I thought I was valiantly fighting through whatever drug they had given me so I could single-handedly save Jane, I was really just screaming random, unintelligible nonsense. It was, however, loud enough to alert bystanders, who came to help just in time. I was completely unconscious, though based on their accounts, they managed to take hold of Jane, but they were unable to keep those freaks from getting in their van and escaping with all our brand new, expensive-as-hell skis. Still, I owe those good people everything for keeping them from kidnapping Jane, and also me. Lord knows what sick, terrible things they had planned for us. I'm thankful none of that happened to us, but sadly the police were never able to track that so-called Adam and Eve couple down, and ever since then, our once beloved hobby of skiing just brings back this terrible memory.